And good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Most Important Conversations Daily Meditations. We record these meditations Monday through Friday. The overarching theme of the meditations is liberation. And before each meditation, we begin with a short talk. The content of the talks are derived from our core ontological workshop program called Whole Life Architecture, where participants are learning to reconnect to the creator within, to no longer be a walking, unconscious, emotional, habituated reaction to everything happening in their life that occurs to them as happening to them, and instead to stand in their power as a creator and to be able to create a life by design so that they're no longer tolerating a life by default. If you have in your life any area where you're in complaint about, where you are experiencing dissatisfaction, then you are not living, at least in those areas, aligned with who you actually are, and you are not taking on the responsibility of being a creator in your life in order to create that which aligns with that area of your life for you. Now, we've been talking about creativity for the majority of this month since the new year. We do this because the new year is a time when everyone is super excited about new possibilities. Everyone is looking at making this the best year ever. It's common for people to create New Year's resolutions. But simply resolving something, simply stating something, simply thinking that by saying it, it's going to come true or something's going to happen is just not how this works. The reason 98% of New Year's resolutions never are actualized and only 8% of people who make a New Year's resolution are even successful at trying to stick to it and actualize change in their life. The reason it's so difficult is because we have all been trained and taught how to be really good consumers of who we should be, how we should be, what we should be, why we should be it in the world to win at the game that we've been conditioned and trained to believe is the meaning and purpose of life, which it is not. You go to other countries, you go to other cultures, they have a different thing going on. Sometimes it's a little similar, sometimes it's totally different. So this is not an objective reality we're dealing with here in terms of who we ought to be in the world. That shouldn't be determined from outside yourself. That should be determined from within, and it needs to be an act of your own creation as well. And this week we've been talking about, in order to create anything, the first act you need to make as a creator of your life, a life by design, is to create space. To completely reorient your relationship to space, to not avoid it, to not try to or need to fill it, to not waste it. We have this conditioning in terms of our relationship to space that has us want to get rid of it as soon as it emerges onto the scene, and yet it is only in and through space that any kind of creativity can occur. In the beginning, as the story in Genesis goes, God the creator, hovered over the void. What is a void? Space. And then the next act was a creative act. Let there be light. This is a metaphor for the creative process. If you don't have space in your life, you have no ability to create something new other than what you already have. And don't misunderstand, everything in your life, even the things you complain about, is your creation. You just didn't know you were creating the conditions for it to exist. Simply by tolerating things that don't bring aliveness, that don't align with you, is an act of creation. You are perpetuating the very thing you are complaining about. If you have a job, if you're in a relationship, if you're complaining about something about your health, if any of these areas of your life you're in complaint and dissatisfaction with, you can do something about it, but it begins with understanding you created it in the first place. You created the conditions that had you choose the job you chose. You created the conditions that had you choose the lifestyle that you chose that has brought you to ill health. You created the conditions that had you choose the relationship you may be in. And so complaining about it isn't going to transform anything. In fact, transformation requires space. Because transformation requires an act of creativity. You've got to create something new in place of what you're dissatisfied with. And between what you currently have that you're dissatisfied with and the moment where you create something that aligns with you and brings you great satisfaction, there's a gap. And that gap is the space. You need to move what does not align out of your life's experience so that you can create something in the space of where that unaligned thing used to be. So we have to learn to be with space. And yet as a culture, we abhor it. We're even taught by physics practitioners that nature abhors a vacuum and so wants to quickly fill it. And that may be true from a physics standpoint, but as creator, you have the ability to determine and create the conditions for how long you will be with space. And the longer you are, the greater your creative potential. Instead of trying to rush something and just fill the space, allow space and time to work their magic, which means that space and time alters your perception of what's possible or how it is possible. If you just quickly try to fill the space, quickly is the time part of the equation, you will likely just consume what someone else has done and fill the space with that, as opposed to it being your own creation, because creation takes time. So if you want it fast, it's not likely going to be your own creation, especially since we as a society have all been conditioned to consume instead of create. So it's not even apparent that were you to try to create something to transform some area of your life, that you'd even be able to do it right now because you haven't learned how to be a creator of your life. You're trapped in the conditioning of being a consumer. That's not your fault. That's not blame, but it is your responsibility to do something about it now that you know. So anywhere in your life where you're in complaint, anywhere in your life where you're dissatisfied, you as a creator have the power to transform and create something new in that area. But to do so is going to require the space in order to create the thing. The new relationship, the new job, the new lifestyle that conforms to a healthy, thriving individual. So learning to be with space, and in fact, getting that your very first creative act is to create space by loosening something in your life, by dropping the thing that is out of alignment. That's step number one. And that doesn't happen quickly. Why? If you need to create space in your relationship, it's unlikely you're just going to decide to end your relationship. And I'm not saying you should. Some relationships just need better communication and work. But you wouldn't know that unless you created the space to create the conditions for better communication and work first. Failing that, you may conclude that this relationship does not align with you. So then creating the space by dissolving the relationship is also not going to be fast. This is just an example. Same thing with your health. Creating the space to create a lifestyle that is more aligned and conducive to thriving health is not a quick fix. It's not a matter of do these 3 steps. You first need to understand, what does even health and aliveness feel like in your body? It's not the same for everyone. You have different genetics. You have certain foods you maybe should or shouldn't be eating for your aliveness. Certain routines. Certain amount of sleep. Exercise. Movement. Meditation. All of these are attributes that can contribute to health, but you consuming only from the outside in terms of your health lifestyle or lack thereof won't know what you should be dropping and what you should be keeping, or what you should be creating to add to how you're living, until you create the space to observe it and reflect and contemplate. So we have to create space in order to create the new thing. Same with your career. Maybe you're in a job that you don't like, or maybe you're running a business that's not working out. You have to create space in order to get a different perspective, and therefore, in order to create what will replace it, or what you will do to nudge it or transform it. Maybe you're not quitting your job, maybe you're not ending your business, maybe it's nuanced, but you won't know without the space because you're too in it. It's the difference between working in something versus on it. This is a working on your life conversation. You can't work on your life when you're trapped in the momentum of what in it occurs like. You can't decide to no longer float down the rapids on the river that you're floating on unless you're out of it. Because as long as you're in it, that river's still carrying you. You need to get out of the river, create space between you and the river being the metaphor for your life, before you can choose, this river works for me, or I'm going to go somewhere else. And then create the path to do so. So space is absolutely required as the precondition, as the foundation, as the framework for any creative act. A blank page, a blank canvas, no thingness. And The reason we avoid it and we don't want to hear that and we don't want to be with it is because space is an unknown. It is unpredictable. It's no thingness. Interestingly enough, for those who are spiritual or even religious, a common attribute attributed to God, the Creator, across all spiritual disciplines is that God is, as Creator, both beginning and end, everything and nothing at the same time. What's the nothingness? Space. Because the Creator is both everything and nothing, God embodies spaciousness, and from that spaciousness, God creates. And it is said, we are created in God's image. What's that? As a creator. We have the ability not only to be with space, but to thrive in the midst of it as creators, but we've got to practice it first, because this is counterintuitive to the way we have been conditioned. We have been conditioned to fill space, just get on with it, make everything happen fast. We want everything yesterday. Our attention span from 1960 to 2012 dropped from 22 minutes to 8 seconds. Space and time and our relationship to it, to each of these, is the thing in the way that distinguishes whether you are going to be a creator of your life or a consumer of your life. And most of us are consuming someone else's life and trying to retroactively convince ourselves that it's ours and that we love it. And yet we go on complaining, wishing, fantasizing about other lives, other things we could, should be doing. So that is a bit of a conundrum. Because if you were truly living an aligned life, you wouldn't want anything different. You wouldn't want anything else. Nothing would be missing. There's nothing missing when you connect to that level of alignment as creator within. And that's what's possible for everyone. If you'd like to learn more about this work, as we move into our meditation this morning, you can go to tmicglobal.com, and we'd love to have you in whole life architecture. So we're going to practice this morning with our meditation, being with space. This morning we are doing a watcher-observer meditation, which is where it's not guided, you're not thinking, you're not chasing emotions that rise and fall, you're simply watching and observing them. Watching and observing. So be seated in a comfortable position, taking a few deep cleansing breaths. And as your thoughts drift in, as they will, because the brain thinks, just like your heart beats and your lungs breathe, it's what it does. Allow your thoughts to drift in, see them, observe them, maybe even acknowledge and name them, but don't chase them, don't go down the rabbit hole of wanting to think them. Just allow them to float by as though they were clouds in the sky. You might have thoughts that are about planning. You may acknowledge it. Okay, I acknowledge planning. Thank you. Let it go. You may have emotions that rise with certain thoughts that drift in and out of your awareness. Feel them. Don't repress them. Allow them to rise and fall. Psychologists tell us that the average emotion that we experience really only lasts about 90 seconds. It's us in our overthinking, ruminating, obsessive mind that relives the thinking that activated the emotion over and over and over again, sometimes for years. creating a perpetual state around an emotion that was really meant to fly in and out of our awareness in about 90 seconds. So as your emotions rise, let them rise and fall as though they were waves on the ocean. And for the next few minutes, that's all there is to do, is simply to be. Your doing is being transformed into being. You are emptying your mind, not actively, but just by allowing the spaciousness of the meditation to consume you. Let the thoughts drift in and out of your awareness. Let the emotions rise and fall. And I'll see you all in a few minutes. And welcome back, everybody. Reconnecting to the world without from the world within. Reconnecting to a world of chattery minds and overthinking. And this morning, perhaps you found in that spaciousness a reprieve. Perhaps you found it relaxing. You may have found it stressful because you're used to just being able to let your thoughts carry you away and let your life be a life where your brain is thinking you. That discomfort that you may have experienced is natural because what you're doing is antithetical and inversed from your conditioning. You've been conditioned to fill space. You've been conditioned to do it fast. And by holding space, not filling it, and not trying to get it done fast, you're going against your conditioning. And that will make your system, your nervous system, react. Why? It's new. It's unknown. It's a change. And our brain is against change. It sees it as a threat. So don't judge your experience this morning. Just let it be what it was. And as we continue to do this work, both the neural sculpting meditations and the observer watcher meditations, you will start to experience a powerful shift. You will start to thrive in the midst of space and spaciousness. You will start to imagine and create new possibilities for your life. First in your mind is an idea, which will then lead you to shift your perception, and you will see opportunities in the world without for your creation to be made manifest in physical reality. That's how all creators have ever created anything since the beginning of time. And you also are that same creator. I want to wish all of you a wonderful day, and we will continue our work tomorrow.